We're at a moment where if government's growth is left unchecked and unchallenged, America's best century will be considered our past century. This is a future in which we will transform our social safety net into a hammock, which lulls able-bodied people into lives of complacency and dependency, depending on bureaucracy to foster innovation, competitiveness, and wise consumer choices has never worked, and it won't work now.
The best way to really take a step back and see what the totality of Ryan's vision is for America is to look at what the CBO said would happen in 2050. Where essentially...
This is the Congressional Budget
Office. Sorry, the Congressional Budget Office. Where essentially in 2050, there would be virtually no more federal government outside of Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and defense. No more. It's Grover Norquist's vision for shrinking the size of our federal government down to the size where you could drown it in a bathtub. So no more federal aviation, no more investments in transportation, roads, consumer protection, essentially eliminating the federal government. The idea that we would have that at the top of our presidential ticket is quite astonishing.
Heather McGhee, your organization, Demos, put out a report card for all of the different budget proposals under discussion, and Ryan's budget plan got the lowest score. Can you explain why?
Yes, we had to give him an F because what we were grading for was not just were you able to cut, but were you able to ensure that we have fiscal balance while also recreating the great American middle class for those who are already there and those who aspire to it. And on simply every single measure that we judged, job creation, retirement security, investments in the next generation's future security, the Ryan plan really consistently chose those who are already wealthy, millionaires and billionaires who would essentially see their taxes eliminated, as in the case of Mitt Romney himself, over the next generation, the most vulnerable in our society.
And yet when presidential candidate Romney on Saturday, standing in front of the USS Wisconsin in Norfolk, Virginia, introduced Paul Ryan, both of them reiterated that it is President Obama who's going to cut more than $700 billion from Medicare. Explain what they're saying about what Obama's doing and then what their plans are.
There's a huge difference in what the president's vision is, which is expanding health care for millions of Americans, as we know, through the Affordable Care Act, and finding savings, ways for Medicare, which is already quite efficient, to do it more efficiently. And what Ryan's vision is. Obviously, Romney did not mention that Ryan has over $1 trillion in cuts from Medicaid and about $810 billion in cuts from Medicare, because he would turn Medicare into essentially a private voucher program, where instead of having a guarantee of coverage, a schedule of benefits that pays doctors, you would essentially get a voucher and be as a senior and then be able to go into the private market. And if the voucher didn't cover your medical expenses, you would have to pay that out of pocket. It would be an enormous shift in burden from the government to individuals.
Heather McGhee, who are the people who would be most impacted by slashes in Social Security?
In Social Security, in Medicare, in the non-defense discretionary budget, which really is would see under Paul Ryan an incredible cut, 22% just in 2014. That really is going to affect the working middle class, and our country's future.